Hello, friends, and welcome to the Optimized Advisor Podcast, where we focus on optimizing the well-being and best practices of insurance and financial professionals today. On this show, our objective is to help you optimize your life, optimize your profession, and learn from other optimized advisors. I'm your host, Scott Heinela. We hope you enjoy the show. Josh Lackowski, welcome to the Optimized Advisor Podcast today. How are you doing?
Oh my gosh, Scott, it's so great to be here. And just knowing, being a part of this experience and walking by your side, even from the vision you had for this podcast and even helping with some of the branding for the show. It's such I'm so grateful just to be able to be a part of this. And it's been a long time in the works, and thanks for having me on. I'm really excited for today's conversation.
We will touch on that, but this would not have happened without also your effort and your creativity that went into making the brand, the image, the look, feel, what it is today. So we will dive into that a little bit more. Obviously, your participation here in this conversation is going to be specifically where we're going to really dive into today is really market with meaning, right? So we're going to hone in on this topic, this conversation. But before we do that, let me just kind of officially tee up who you are, your introduction, and then we can talk a little bit more about your background, your history. So you are the Director of Marketing, Strategy, and Account Services for the one and only Producer's Choice Network. Absolutely. Boom, boom.
The whiz, boom, pow, right?
you are the brain behind that for sure. You're doing a fantastic job with our company, Producer's Choice, and certainly as we embark on this journey which began with really refreshing and revitalizing our logo, right? The very beginning of this was a few years ago, and that it all started with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my background is primarily within sales and marketing within the automotive space. So doing a stint with Ford Motor Company and Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. I spent almost 12 years at FCA in sales and marketing, and then did a stint for almost 3 years in the product design office when I was specifically working as a brand ID developer. So that was a tremendous opportunity. I got to work shoulder to shoulder with lead interior and exterior designers for all the FCA brands, Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Alfa Romeo, name the list, goes on and on, Chrysler. So it's I feel very fortunate to have that opportunity as well with sales and marketing. And yeah, I mean, I have vehicle badges on millions of cars out all over the world, which is a huge accomplishment and blessing just to be able to be a part of that. I feel too, like just growing up in a fairly large family, a family of 7 children. My mom and dad still together. They're going to be celebrating their 50th year anniversary this year coming up. So
amen to you, mom and dad.
Yeah. Oh gosh, dad, mom, I love you guys. Yeah. So it was a real experience. I mean, I'm number 5 in the lineup, and I really had to learn how to build relationships inside the family to be seen and to be heard. And trust me, I've paid for a lot of therapy to figure out a lot of these. Why do I do what I do? What are my motivations? So going all the way back to childhood. But it was kind of that factor of, hey, mom and dad, look what I can do. Look what I can do. So in short, that kind of, created a path for my life where I really built upon, that desire to really find ways and to connect with people, and how to do that in a dynamic fashion that provides this curiosity and a sense of wanting to be a part of something. So that's where it kind of like stems forth from. Yeah. And then I had the opportunity. Oh, go ahead. Yep.
Well, I was just going to say, behind you've got a handful of guitars back there, and without question, you communicate to the world through your interest and love and passion for music.
Absolutely.
You do a heck of a job.
Absolutely. And I attributed that all to my mom and dad. I grew up in kind of a Polish bohemian family. So my mom and dad were self-made. They were full-time musicians. raised 7 kids doing that. My mom played the drums, my dad played accordion, my brother played accordion, piano and bass and guitar, and my youngest brother played drums. And so it was like a real, like a Polish Partridge Family upbringing. So I was, ever since I was in a bassinet, I was next to my mom, playing the drums at festivals, all across the country. So I guess that's just ingrained in me. So there's always instruments around the house. And, to me, music is a language. It's just another form of being able to communicate, just through a different medium.
Yeah.
So it's like when I play music, it's all I hear talking. It's a conversation. So yeah, so
You
you
and
can
the
see,
family all rock now, right?
yeah. So, my dad is semi-retired right now. He's at the age of 84. But I have been playing with him in the band since I was 16 years old. And then I joined a production company around 2006, did that for about 9 years. A group of us kind of departed from that and created our own band, which has turned into one of the largest event entertainment acts in the Detroit area. So the NKG band, for all the members out there, hello. So yeah, it's just always been a part of my life. And as you can see, I have a slight obsession. This is not even the full gamut of, unfortunately, my expensive habit. But most of these came from my wife. So,
Hey, that's a healthy habit to have, though.
yeah, definitely.
All right. So part of the conversation that we really wanted to dive into today is just marketing and really focusing on marketing with meaning, with a purpose, right behind that. And what does that mean? Um, there's a philosophy of there, right, of building a foundation for optimal success. And certainly our audience are going to be financial planners, wealth managers, individuals in the insurance and financial planning space. That is our customer network. That is the area of our focus and our expertise. But with that, more and more, we're just seeing things become noisy, muddy, cloudy. Which products do I choose? Which mediums do I choose? What should my company, my brand, my presence look like? I mean, I'm just throwing out a bunch of questions that maybe take one at a time.
Yeah. Man, that's a big one. I mean, I don't mean to get existential here, but I will for a second. I mean, I think for all of us as human beings, and just recognizing the fact that it's through our visions, it's through our dreams and our imagination and the effort that's put in behind turning those into reality. I mean, if you were to tell somebody 50 years ago that there would be a gentleman in a company who is working on literally sending people to Mars in a rocket, they would have laughed at you. Or if you would have talked to somebody 50 years ago to say, hey, there's going to be a world wide web where everybody's interconnected and all of humanity's knowledge and that collection of knowledge and understanding is accessible just through a push of a button, that would have been unheard of. So the fact of the matter of knowing that as these creative beings that we are, right? And we can't even understand often where the conscious and the unconscious comes from. Hence, that's why I love listening to podcasts about studies of the brain and consciousness too, as well. So knowing that, then we have to ask the question in terms of what is the purpose and what are we trying to do? And it's I believe, right, from the bottom of my heart, because I know you've had a lot of guests on the show and talk about purpose, and we've experienced that, working with friends and who are in the purpose business, right? Sharing that message, getting people connected to that core of who they are and serving other people. But from a communication standpoint, a relational standpoint, it's our job and mission to come together as people and to select the best ideas, the best visions that are for the common good of every single human life, and work together to make those a reality. So from a foundational standpoint too, if we talk about marketing is a powerful, powerful tool. And if you look in how marketing has been used, which is nothing more than a form of being able to communicate an idea connected to a feeling that ultimately wants to drive a certain action. And if you look back in history, especially within the 20th century, symbolism, communications, all forms of types of print and digital media have been used for both common good and unfortunately have been used for destructive purposes.
Mhm.
So and I think that's in, the capability for to do good or to do harm is in human beings, is in all of us. And again, it takes a collective, and it takes a collective of individuals who have common ground and common beliefs to support those things that are actually good to do and bring those ideas forth. So that's the existential, talk about it, or the little spiel. But I would like to get more into the overall philosophy so that we can establish a good foundation for what does that look like, right? And what does that look like to build upon and actually put into practice, into use, right? I think a lot of times with these conversations, they can be all pie in the sky and like, that's great. How does this help me? How does this help my business? How does this help me attract more relationships and connect with more people and then ultimately transform lives? So,
Yeah. Using automotive just as a comparison, it's like how many automotive brands exist in the world?
mm,
Relatively business speaking, there's not that many.
no.
However, on the flip side, if I talk about, individual practices or firms that exist in the financial planning space, I can't even begin to put together the exact number when you break it down, you know, banks that offer financial services, obviously broker-dealer firms, wirehouse firms, RIA firms, individual practices that are completely independent. Um, so many. Well, where do I begin in defining what my philosophy is, what my brand should be? How do I differentiate myself, right? What path am I going to carve within my practice?
Mm, that's a wonderful question. So I think from a structural and a foundational point of view, there's really five things that have come up with that help support individuals who want to be successful and optimize their capabilities of again expanding their reach and also connecting with clients in a more meaningful way. So as step one comes into play, it's really about knowing and believing, right? This comes down to the whole purpose conversation. And what does that look like? The connection between knowing and believing, those two forces have to join
Mm,
because that's where the spark of passion actually happens. That's where the energy comes from, where you can go 120% full steam ahead after a long day of work because you're so passionate about whatever that subject is, whatever that thing is inside of you. And that's when you know from a sense of purpose that it's actually literally driving you like a rocket
mm.
to be able to achieve and succeed and to become more as an individual. So I won't stay long too much on, Davin has done a tremendous job with Purpose Point, and it's such a great organization. So I can't even begin to put a nick in from a purpose perspective. But that's the common concept. It has to come from there because when you talk about marketing and you want to be able to actually create a brand, it consists of really two things, right? There's the visual imagery and the style that you want to be and represent within the world, right? So it's that visualization of that. The other side is the messaging. So again, the combining of these two things. What is your story? What is your voice? What is your perspective? What is your message? How are you serving people in this world again for the betterment of their own lives, for the increase of their well-being in all things, whether that's financial, spiritual, relational, physical. There's just so many aspects to apply that. So I'll move past. That's kind of step one. And
Right.
again, we can get into all the tactical of what we do at Producer's Choice to help advisors identify their purpose, their values, their mission, what their brand look is, what is their brand integrity, their brand identity. We have a whole process set up for that to actually create a strong, purposeful, unique brand within the marketplace. The second part, so after you got your, and you believe in your purpose, the second step is to surround yourself with other people's. This is about partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And partnership is extremely important, especially in the area of financial advisory, right? Within that profession, because there are, you know, there's different parts of the brain that work together in order to achieve a certain end result. And oftentimes, when you talk about the left cortex or the right cortex of the brain and how they operate, sometimes we as individuals will lean heavy on the logic side or the creative thinking side.
Right.
So, dealing with finance, and at least a lot of the advisors that I have been engaged with over the last almost 3 years now with Producer's Choice, it's evident that there is a great need to be able to partner with an entity that can help really blossom out that personal value message and branding and make that come to life, and also to help provide the construct and the planning of how to actually get that message out into the world for the purpose of attracting more people to their business, right?
Let's pause there, because certainly in our role in working with the advisors, not being the graphic design and marketing experts, that's where your team comes into play, or any partner that an advisor would be working with. A lot of the times what we found is advisors maybe know what they don't like, or what they know what they don't want their brand to be or their image to be, but it's very challenging to hone in on what it should be.
Mm.
That's not an easy task to, I mean, so to help anyone trying to identify their brand identity, their purpose, their vision, and what they want their company to look like and feel like, having a partner that asks the right questions to help that conversation move along is invaluable.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And it's the individuals, right? I mean, a lot of what we do is very boutique, very concierge, in terms of working one-on-one relationship as a marketing liaison on behalf of a partner. And it's sometimes the process is quick.
Yeah.
That's all based off of communication and engagement. What I'm so proud of at Producer's Choice and the team that I'm able to work side by side with, is really the paying attention and actually listening. So we have the tools to help collect the information from an advisor to really get those key points. But it also happens through having those one-on-one conversations with the advisor, and not just hearing, but listening. There's a huge difference. So often times in life, right? We can hear things, knowledge, and information that could really benefit our lives. But what happens? It goes over our heads. I mean, take the financial industry, right? How many individuals, families, couples, grandparents, kids of parents, or parents, right, who have kids? All parents have kids, right? So with that, it's like, how often can you speak a message of truth and the importance of protective planning and insurance solutions that play a major role within the comprehensive financial plan?
Yeah.
But they're not listening.
Right.
So the trick is, how do you get people to listen? So, long story short, our team really pays attention to detail, to listening. And again, a lot of that, you have to empty yourself out of any projection of what your thought of what you think that person is saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so much so today, this is one of these assessments they've taken along the way. I forget exactly which one it was, but it was one of the identifying personality traits was the ability to look at individuals as individuals, and it was called individualism. And some people are better at this than others. In our space, it's so critically important to recognize an advisory practice, big or small, as an individual, and really look at what's underneath the hood, peel away the layers of the onion, if you will, and identify what is this person's background, what are their experiences, what are their traits, what are their interests, how do I hone in on their unique abilities and what it is that they're trying to portray. And that's not an easy task. You're right. It really comes down to allowing us or anyone in helping represent their brand or their company. It's sinking really into the vision and the purpose behind what it is they're trying to accomplish without question. The hearing versus the listening, right?
Yeah, I think too. What really attracted me again, coming from Michigan, the Detroit area, nobody leaves the big three. I mean, if you're a direct employee of one of them, it's like, why would you go anywhere else? I mean,
Right.
that's the cream of the crop right there.
Yeah.
Some of the best jobs, at least in the state, sometimes in the country, right? I mean, you think about automotive, but the difference is, and I love the way that you put that, because it just highlights the fact, and maybe you can help me understand too. I mean, from an advisor's perspective, right? You have one advisor. What is the optimal number of clients? Right, because I know there's going to be a scale of the types of clients that they have, right, in terms of what their AUM is and what they're able to do from a investing perspective. So what does that look like from an advisor? Is it 100 clients, 200 clients, 500 clients? From an individual level, because that what makes coming from a car company in marketing, it's all about, okay, well, how can you sell 3.5 million vehicles of this model right across the country through the same type of dealership network?
Yeah.
But where from an advisor standpoint, it is very one-on-one relational. It goes deeper. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes energy. It takes investing into that relationship on a whole different level than a lot of these industries where it's kind of just, it's turn and burn, right? I mean, when you buy a new car, do you go back into this, and go talk to your sales manager, the next month or 6 months appointment? No.
Yeah. But that's a great point too. If you dive into that, and that really, if I take the time to digest what it is that I want, what my business is today and what I ultimately want to achieve, or what I want the vision of my business to look like down the road, 3, 5, 10 years from now, uh, those are very, very important thoughts to have and to really digest and unpack, in the sense that some individuals say, well, the ideal of true success is working with 5 families and being a family practice. Some vision of success is, no, 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 I want to work with, small business owners or a specific makeup of the population, and 50 households might be the answer there. And I just want to have a wonderful boutique practice focusing in this specific segment or this specific area of the population. Others maybe, no, 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 we're going to scale our practice, and I'm going to have an advisory team of 2, 3, 6, 10 advisors. It's not always just going to be using my name, the Scott Heinela Show as an example. It's going to be a real firm that has multiple advisors that work for that common goal, that mission, that purpose within the practice. So it varies dramatically from what it is the vision of success is, as defined by the president or the founder of that organization. And I think the logo or their imagery and their branding needs to emulate that. And there is a difference. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, 100%. 100% too. And it's also branding, right? It's more than a brand, it's taking a stand, right? From a design, aspect. I mean, there's services out there. You could go get a logo designed, pay a company, and there's a I don't want to say sweatshop, but you could have 100 logos sent to you for $500 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And but the difference is, right, it's about the approach. And boutique, I would almost equate it to like watch building, right? I mean, I know you love watches, Scott. So you know a lot more about it than mine or than myself. But what I appreciate about watches is oh my gosh, I can't even say it. Yeah, the types.
Intricacies.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you. But of the design and the mechanics and the
Right.
beauty of how a well-built watch comes together, and it's customized, and there's a character to it, there's a life to it, right?
Yeah.
So kind of the old saying, you get what you pay for. Absolutely. So in that process, again, one's brand, a company's brand, whether that's from an advisory firm or a collective of advisors working together, or whether that's just an independent advisor or an RIA. But again, it has to emulate and really speak and touch to the truth of who they are and what they do, why they do what they do, all in service of those that they're working for, to
I'll
help.
give two general examples, and then we can kind of move on from the brand and imaging portion of this. Is let's use a couple advisors that we've recently facilitated. One, very much so in this interest of really, I mean, in their words, really, it was our firm is working to be the Cartier of financial planning and wealth management services. Well, just think about the brand Cartier. I mean, that's a very, very high-end brand, very elite, if you will,
Mm.
and that's the vision that they're trying to emulate. Well, that's a dramatic difference than another advisor who's saying, "No, you know what? I'm really focusing in a specific field of, let's say, blue collar and working with business owners that work in this construction space, if you will, or something." Just picking random examples. Well,
Yeah.
not that I would say the Cartier image isn't a fit of that, but it's probably not. Your look and your feel and your imagery is going to look something different than
Mm.
catering to the Cartier buyer. And then let me use the other example of similar to you with the guitars in your background. The other advisor that we're helping with right now in developing their brand and their image, very, very much in the music and acting Hollywood space, and really wanting to emulate this kind of rock star brand and logo, because that's who he is, and that's who, in a perfect world, that's the audience he would love his entire practice to have relationships with, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I know who you're talking about too.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think too, like, I know we'll get to the conversation, specifically around attraction, get into a little bit of the human psychology and biology, and from a a social aspect too. How does that work? So I'm excited to talk about that. And I'll just go through, because I know we only hit 2 of the 5 so far. So know and believe. Surround yourself with partners who can help you, right, where they are stronger than you, but you need them to be able to excel in your business and your practice and your life. So partnership number 2. Number 3 is plan, right? So at that point, when you have that partner connection, you have your purpose, the importance of planning, even from a business perspective. I mean, you think about the financial industry, how important, what is the messaging we tell people about how important it is for them to plan out their life for the 3 buckets, right? Whether you're in the risk, taking and accumulation phase, all the way to retirement and the where you're actually spending more money,
Yeah.
and not as much money's coming in. So the importance that that this industry puts on planning for other people, and for them, put the emphasis on that, the need for them to listen and follow, because how often do plans get built, even from a comprehensive point of view, and it just ends up in a big binder?
Yeah.
So it's really about, from a business perspective, that takes, again, that partnership, the expertise to help you build a plan that's surrounded around your goals and objectives for your business and your practice. So that's very important, right? Even from that perspective. The
Yeah,
four
what good is a brand and an image and and this kind of presence of existence without putting together a plan of how I'm going to execute? I mean, if I'm trying to identify a specific audience that I'm trying to procure and develop my practice around, yeah, step one is build. The next step would be, okay, what's my plan? And then next one,
execution, act, right? It's acting
action,
upon those
right?
plan. And oftentimes I don't know if this is a human condition or not. I mean, I feel like I suffer from this in specific areas of my life where it's more difficult for me to actually take that first step. Even though I have the knowledge, I have the understanding, I know what's good for me, but why? What is it that's stopping me from, and I'll build out a plan. I mean, you can look at me. The reason why I look so young is because, like I say, all this extra weight helps push out the wrinkles. I'm actually 72 years old. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, who loves it? Who doesn't love a nice, cheery, chubby face, like a QB doll? But no, that the whole idea of, like, even from a health perspective, and I've invested in gyms, I've invested in coaches, I've invested in programs, and again, from that, just kind of taking that example, the importance of actually acting and putting action into place, right? It's so important. But often as human beings, we fall short for some reason. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
And
think there's a number of reasons to that. One of them is staying in kind of the business lane is, first of all, you believe. You really have to be able to envision and believe what it is that I'm wanting to become. And I
Mm,
think so many times maybe an advisor or any business owner, maybe they don't necessarily in their heart deep down kind of really, really believe what that vision of success is. And then the other part of it, and again, these are just kind of my thoughts, but the other part of it is to be consistent, using fitness as an example. So many people think that tomorrow I sign up for a fitness plan and I'm just going to hit it so hard for 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, whatever their initial plan is. And they don't realize that, wait a minute, I'm really taking on an elephant here. And the only way to eat an elephant is to eat it one bite at a time. And every day I just need to take a bite, whatever that bite is. And that goes the same way in building a business. It doesn't really happen like flipping on a light switch and overnight. It really is, what's the one bite that I'm going to take, and building this practice to ultimately achieve the vision of ecstasy.
you're right. Oh my
What is it?
gosh. I mean, oh, Scott, what you're talking about too is, and thinking about, again, kind of self-reflection is what I'm finding, and I'm on a journey right now in terms of transformation. So I'm kind of walking through this. Um, but what you're talking about is the sense and the importance of believing that your life is valuable enough
Mm,
to be able to be worthy of success, to be worthy of experiencing joy, to be worthy of having a life of abundance, full of love, right? I mean,
yeah,
from a material perspective, like from poor to rich, we've humanity has been on that scale since the beginning of time. But there's a different sense of from an individual level who actually understands and embraces their intrinsic value. But that's a belief. You have to start from that center point.
yeah, that's the
If
seed.
that is the seed,
Yeah,
and it's so disheartening in today's time. And Michelle and I, we have three beautiful kids. I got two girls, Adele and Scarlett, who are in their teenage years, and my son Ben, who's 12 years old. And I'm watching them experience life through a whole different lens. And there is almost an overwhelming challenge that the younger generation is facing, and it really is rooted in this idea: is my value created by what I'm able to present to the world, what I'm able to do, how beautiful I can look, or how handsome or how talented, and all, even though those things are good, right? The pursuit to become better, or to be better at a skill, or better health wise, or even better looking, right? I mean, um, but it's the driving motivation, right, that we got to get to. And there's such a need for I think all people, but especially this younger generation coming up, to really understand, to come from a point that they within themselves, being this human being, somehow being on this pale blue dot that's floating in the universe, and from our perspective, we don't really know if there's life anywhere else. We can only assume. That's that's just mind-boggling. I mean, I've spent nights thinking about that. But the idea that they are lucky enough or blessed enough to have a life.
Yeah.
And there's a real threat. There's a real threat to that in modern day society.
Yeah.
Because if you empty somebody of their intrinsic value, then what else is there to fill that hole
Yeah.
other than just
Yeah. And the slippery slope in our business is certainly, I mean, we're financial services, insurance planning. It's all geared around monetary value. Uh, and I want to be clear that an individual's vision of success, it's not, fiscal, it's not financial. Like if that's your driver, fine. However, you've got very, very significant things in an individual's life that can bring fulfillment that's not just tied to the vision of success equaling this amount of revenue or this amount of income. It's family, it's faith, it's whatever your spiritual
yeah.
commitment is to life. Your fitness is it define health, define vision of
Mm.
success and health. What do you want your family to look like, and your family relationships and your dynamics, and that's a constant journey, um, in life.
Yeah, and even not to put another plug in here for you, at least for your branding, but even with the tagline, we came up with, there's a reason why people is first,
Mm,
and that's followed by passion, that's followed by performance. And the most successful companies or individuals in the world are ones who understand the importance of taking care of the client first, having a people first perspective,
yeah.
right? You look
This
at
is a people business,
the
right? People
people
through.
business almost to a sacrificial level of service, right?
Yeah.
That's going above and beyond. And those are the companies, those are the advisors and individuals that truly succeed, because I do believe in the pursuit, again, rooted in that belief and purpose, but that you're able to achieve both the satisfaction of getting joy from literally serving somebody because it is good to do so. And then in the financial world, yes, it's numbers, it's dollars and cents, but it's more than that. If advisors realize that those dollars and cents are attached to life experience, what
Mm,
is it going to look like? I mean, if you let's take like long-term care, right? For as an example. And many advisors, right, are not utilizing to the point where they should be
mm,
and looking into proper long-term care planning. Now, from a financial standpoint, right, we know one of the biggest risks to an individual's overall portfolio is the potential risk of a extended healthcare event.
yeah.
And I don't know if anybody else has noticed out there, things are not getting cheaper in this economy. And I
Right.
don't think we're going to go backwards to maybe to where we were if things keep going forward in this way. So only medical expenses are going to get more expensive. Care is going to get more expensive. The only reason why I say this is the importance. It's just not about the financial. It's not just building a good long-term care plan. It serves a purpose. It serves a purpose for that family
Yeah.
from not only a financial but an emotional standpoint, that can really do good and cause or mitigate risk of disharmony. I mean, at the end of the day, hey, if you lose some money, lose some money. If you lose a son or a daughter or a brother or sister over an argument of what are we going to do with mom and dad in their time of need, that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So
And that's a perfect example of where it's long-term care planning and the implementation of a long-term care plan. Yeah, on the surface, it's fiscal, it's monetary, but it's really not. It's about the unintended consequences, the emotional toll that will have on caregivers, family, friends, the people within that person's closest circle and network that are going to be the most severely impacted by it. And as an advisor, you either commit to the fact that you're going to embrace that because you are committed to making a difference and being a comprehensive financial planner, or you're not. And that doesn't mean you have to directly handle it. It means you have to create a process within your practice, a resource to quarterback that, to resource that, to network that, if you're not going to directly do that. So moving on from there, though, the next step, marketing with meeting, measure, right?
Oh yes, yeah. So we're still right. So the 5 steps, and it's funny that you said that, right? The importance of partner and planning. The last step within this 5 step process is to measure and to evaluate.
Mm,
The importance of measuring and evaluating based off of the plan, the actions that you took, and looking at what are those success measures, right? And like you said, those can vary from advisor to advisor or from institution to institution. The important part is being able to identify those up front, right? And then build the marketing plans around serving the purpose of those goals, right? Whatever those goals are. So once you put in those, key performance indicators and be able to say, okay, this is what we're going to deem as success. Well, then you have your North Star, you can go after it. And then through the evaluation process, you have to be willing to say what worked, what didn't work, how can we improve? And then you go back to the plan, right? And then it's, wash, rinse, repeat.
mm.
And not to do that like nonchalantly, but it's just, again, that process of refining. It's like a beautiful piece. I always think of business like a marble sculpture, and I always think about Michelangelo and what did it feel like as he was chiseling away chunks of marble day after day, day after day, and then all the way to the point where he's polishing it to a mirror finish. And what that process took, like from a block of marble,
One bite at a time.
one bite at a time, one chip of the hammer,
Consistency is
one paint, one stroke of the paintbrush. But the important part is there you have to do.
yeah, do
Talking is great. I love this. I love talking, but it has to come to like, oh, what are we going to like do like
right.
together? So
And we've got to take a step back, reevaluate. Are we on track here? What has been thrown our way unexpectedly, environmentally, what have you, right? Pandemic,
yeah.
the example of everybody had to pivot in some capacity, some larger, more than others. And then wash, like you said, it's reassess, measure, wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to me, that's kind of this ultimate level to get to where my practice and my marketing is at a point where it really is. We just kind of take the pulse, take a step back. Let's measure what our results are. What are we doing? Is everything looking good? Let's hit the reset button.
Yeah. And never forget the importance of time and commitment. Oftentimes, and I've been in marketing for a long time, and maybe I shouldn't say unfortunately, because sometimes beautiful things happen out of great need and necessity because you're running out of time. But I think it's very important and imperative to think about those larger types of attraction events. And what does that look like from a planning perspective, and allowing enough time to be able to create a real experience and a draw into that.
Yeah.
You can't fake it, right? It can't be, hey, I want to put on, this event and have 100 people show up and talk about, Social Security and, and all the different strategies that can go in to help, build a better plan for those individuals and leveraging different strategies. So let's do that. And we're going to shoot it out. And we got 3 weeks before it happens. I want 200 people there. All right. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And not in today's world.
And that's the thing, it's challenged with the world delivering things instantly or very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And when understanding that building a marketing, having breadth
Mm.
as a marketing engine and as a brand and as an entity, it takes time. Follow your process, find the right partners, stay committed to that. And then questioning kind of how do you become known within a community and how do you really establish these trusted relationships, client relationships, or centers of influence and really, really become a presence
Mm.
within my marketplace? How does that happen, right?
So I always took the approach, it's the two-prong philosophy. Number one, when you have an established business, that means you already have a certain number of clientele that have a relationship with you, right? So if you're doing your job well, you have clients that like you, that
Mhm.
trust you, that listen to you, and so the sense is what happens often is that advisors. I don't know why this is, but there's the opportunity of to be able to leverage those relationships. I shouldn't say leverage, but it's a mutual benefit thing in terms of, what's the phrase, all birds of the same feather flock together, right?
Yep.
When you're talking about individuals and who they're hanging out with, there's usually a relative a base of what their lifestyle is like, right?
Yep.
So with that, advisors taking advantage of the word of mouth marketing, right? And so what the heck is that? What does that look like? Well, that's really, uh, having conversations with the current clients and putting certain experiences together that's for them and a friend.
Yeah.
Um, and really utilizing that because what you've done with that client, if they trust you and you've done well with them, they're going to want to tell people about it.
Yeah.
Right, and become a
Sharing
real
it.
advocate and prospect. So
Yeah.
that's the one prong. The other prong is what we're talking about is like, okay, I have this set of people, I'm trying to attract, maybe their inner circle of individuals who trust, but I want to go out there and fish in the market in the big pond and see what I can catch, right? And that's a whole different type of approach, right? And knowing that we live in the digital age, it's here to stay, it's not going away, ladies and gentlemen. You have to embrace it because it is not all bad and evil and scary and being controlled by AI robots. Not yet, at least. So with that, it's really again taking advantage of those opportunities to be able to scale out your message. Right, that's where the importance of being able to do that effectively through digital means, right? So whether that's through your website experience, your organic search, your user experience, how you set those digital things up, from a social media platform, how are you effectively
Direct client communication through a newsletter, through a
right,
blog, through emails, through
right, yep,
what is your marketing plan for communicating to your existing clients? I mean, let's face it, the best clients should be advocates waiting to be unleashed.
absolutely.
And we're not talking about, you know, having this specific process for referrals and this kind of coaching conversation of this is how you can refer me people and or
Right.
personal introductions. No. What we're touching on here is through creating experiences that resonate with your clients that would then motivate them to share that experience, to share the difference that you're making in their life, right?
Oh, yes. I can't wait to talk about the attractions because, with it, even in that very same thought, right? And knowing that from a client perspective, or having clients under you, right, that you're managing their money for, like you said, if it's 50 to 100 per one advisor, right, that's you can get there. You can get there pretty fast. And from a practical standpoint, it's taking, perhaps your top 20% clients, developing an experiential event where you're taking them somewhere one on one, right, with that couple or with the individual, but with the invitation of the friend. So making an upfront investment into that. So what does that experience look like? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? How are you going to intrigue them, entertain them, delight them? And then ultimately, where you open up that conscious door to where it's no longer, oh, I hear you. It's I'm listening to you, right? And that only happens at that flip and turn of, hey, I trust this person. So what gets somebody from I don't know you to I trust you? So we can talk about that, because it's one of those subject matters I really love talking about from a psychological perspective, and then just from a biological perspective as well.
Well,
Um,
in so many surveys we read today and see it, and this goes with boomers, Gen X, millennials, resounding responses to client advisor surveys is the response of trust and building trust as an advisor with the clients. It's becoming harder and harder to do just because the access to information is so prevalent. There's no real buffer between certain types of information, and a lot of it's driven by an agenda or some motivation. To the very beginning of our conversation, sometimes meant for good, sometimes it's honest, sometimes it's transparent, sometimes it's not so much. It's driven by some underlying motivation that may not be in the best interest of a person or their retirement, and it may not be also taken into the specific context of them and their situation. And that's the stuff that rubs me really
mm.
the wrong way.
No, I hear you. I mean, and that's disheartening too, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is that we don't have control over what other people are doing with their life, right? That's why the importance of partnering with those who have shared common values, right? Those are the best types of partnerships, because you can bond together based off of concepts and ideas that are greater than ourselves, right? And again, in service of serving people, serving them well within that, whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. Kind of going into that, because it's like, from an attraction phase, even demographically, let's go to the base, let's go to the core human condition, right? What are the two truths about human beings, about what they want, what creates curiosity in them, what creates a desire for XYZ, right? Why do some people want a Bugatti and some people want Tesla, and whatever.
Well, one would be some people always want more than what I already have, or better than what I already have, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the fact of the matter is that I truly believe this. I'll say for most people. I would say for all people, but that's too, presumptuous of a statement. For most people, they're attracted to things that that are valuable to them, that are rare, that are kind of exclusive. And it's also something that they can receive for themselves, right, in some form, whether it's self-improvement or from a status standpoint. It's basically people seek out those things that make them feel important, heard, listened to, and cared for. The second truth is that most people, and you already said it, they want better, right? I mean, why do I have 20 guitars in my collection? It doesn't stop. I'm kind of always like, I get that new, shiny axe, that new wood and steel, and oh my gosh, I love playing it. And a year passes by, and then I'm like, oh,
I
I kind of
need
go
to lose
on. And there's
I
still
want to I
sentimental
want
vat.
everything.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah,
But it's like an insatiable desire for something better or
you
what,
already have. Yeah,
it's insane, and I think that's just the human condition. I mean, I think we're set up that way. The grass is always greener on the other side. I mean, I think that's why there's so much power to the idea of gratefulness and having gratitude and expressing gratitude in life. I mean, it can really have an impact not only on our own well-being but on the well-being of others if we take that position and mindset.
yeah.
Because I think there's something innately within human beings that we just want to get more. And that's something, I've struggled with that my whole life, so I don't know, Scott, am I crazy?
No, no, and I think that fits all most facets of it to your point, it's how we are wired as humans. If, I could always be stronger. I could always be
Mm,
faster. Or I want to be fast. I want to be faster than him, stronger than her,
mm,
more successful than the advisor next door.
mm.
And so to challenge yourself to stay within your own assessment, what is it that, using your name, Josh, as an example in a practice is trying to achieve within his work-life balance and his personal goals and objectives. And um, what is your vision of success for yourself and how do you achieve that? And not being distracted by the other guitar, the other advisor who, and social media is such a necessity, but a dangerous tool because I think so many times you're kind of motivated to have this knee-jerk reaction. We now need to respond to what that person's doing, and it
Mm.
may be completely outside of what my plan is, but I get sucked into, "Nope, they're doing it, seems to be working, we gotta do this." As opposed to having that partner, taking the pulse and saying, "Is this something that we should really integrate? And if we do, how are we gonna do it, and what is our plan?"
Oh my gosh, Scott. Yes. So we are creatures of our environment and we imitate what's going on, right? We learn that as a young baby. How do we learn how to talk, walk, speak? How do we learn how to develop inside of some type of structure, right? We have diverse, families, how they're put together, but we have to learn, like, hey, how to make it through this life. And oftentimes we're looking to the left and right and saying, hey, what's she doing, what's he doing, I need to do some more of that. Social media has kind of exacerbated, I don't know if that's the right word, gosh dang it, from the sense of there's really two different forms of communication, right? One is an outpouring of positivity and message that's more directed towards the end user or the one who's actually visualizing that content, right? You see this a lot on LinkedIn. That's why I love LinkedIn, because from a perspective, it's if you were to balance out, hey, I'm talking about me, I'm talking about my business, I'm talking about what I can do, versus here's some insights, here's some free education, here's some thought-provoking quotes, or hey, here's some recommendations for books or speakers to listen to, right? I mean, it's a great, whenever the marketing is presented in a way that doesn't, kind of, it's not all about me, right? Especially in the
Right.
business world, it has to be all about the end, the person that you're trying to help with that, whatever that content is. But gosh, social media and other things, I mean, that's a whole nother world of, like, hey, you want to feed people's egos, or we want to feed our own egos. I mean, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of it too. There's some times where I'm feeling down. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna post this cool guitar video, and people are gonna be like, you're great, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we can kind of get into, okay, so why do we do that? Why do we do that? How is our behavior altered and changed? And taking from like a biological point of view, right? Let's talk about happy brain chemicals. This is part of our makeup. We can't do anything about it, right? So we have oxytocin, right? And this is really like it's kind of attributed to like the love hormone, right? It creates that sense of like belonging, and really helps us feel connected to individuals. Oftentimes that is released in our body through physical touch, right? It could be a handshake, it could be a hug, it could be attaboy, bro, right?
Right.
Great job, right?
Yeah.
Why do sports figures slap each other on the behinds? That's weird behavior. No, it releases oxytocin that makes them feel like, yes, we're a team, we're together, I'm feeling loved, I'm feeling a part of something. Um, Another chemical is serotonin, right? Which is more of the mood stabilizer. So you talk about, you know, in the advisory space, it's always about peace of mind, security,
Yeah.
keeping people like, kind of leveled out. And what does that look like? Well, oftentimes from a physical perspective, we can create this for ourselves through like meditation, right? The type of music we're listening to, certain foods, right? So going back to the experiential events, like these are things you need to think about, like how do I release these chemicals in the brain, right? And not
Right.
to be like maniacal about it, but this is just our biology,
Absolutely.
and it's all doing good things.
Well, and on the negative one is, and I don't know what chemical it is, but but for sure the people who are tied to creating drama. So let's see, you gave positive examples. The other end of that is the ones who are deliberately stirring the pot and creating drama within their world. And it's funny because those people tend to find that they keep circulating this hamster wheel of drama in their life.
Mhm.
And how do I how do I mitigate that? Well, there's a chemical that's being created, like a drug. That you,
Oh, yeah, and so I mean, and for the end person on the butt end of that, what happens is cortisol is released. What's cortisol for? It's our stress factor, right? And there is a positive use to that from an evolutionary standpoint. I mean, you think about, let's say 30,000 years ago, if you're out and about, you're Scott Heinela, you have a little tribe, a little family, you're in the middle of the forest where there's black bears, brown bears, badgers, wolves, the the type of stress that is put on you from an environmental point of view, and what your body releases, right? You gain more focus and attention, and usually, right, through physical activity, cortisol is burned off, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we live in a very sedentary like lifestyle, which is not good for the heart and mind. But so from that aspect, again, there's people who feed on watching people suffer and be afraid and be fearful.
Hmm.
There is. I've experienced it in my own life.
Yeah.
And then there's other people, right, who feed off of, again, the kind of the joy, the positivity, the gratitude. It's very, opposite types of forces, but I've experienced it in my own life. I'm sure you have too.
There's positive energy and negative energy in everything in life.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I love being a human being. I love being able to like observe, like what is this place? Why are we here? It's crazy. I think about it all the time. But definitely, I mean, there's some universal truths that you can't deny, right? I mean, from in terms of opposite forces kind of working in the together, right? As having some tension. So going back to some of the biological like effects of what we're able to help people with. So the releasing of endorphins, that often can be caused by a sense of a laughter, of comedy, of delight, right? Of feeling. It's kind of those light moments that we can be a part of or create for other individuals. And what that is, it's actually a natural painkiller, right? So versus, someone who probably takes too much Motrin sometimes because I'm sore. I just need a good laugh. I need a good conversation with a friend.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to go too pie in the sky, but from a business relational, right, a client relational, I mean, these are all things that like for consideration and to just put emphasis of how we're actually treating people when we have the opportunity to spend time with them,
Yeah,
right?
it comes down to really, really shaping what the experience we want our clients to have, and
Yes.
and then living that
Yeah.
living
And
that in our practice through and through.
absolutely. And from the perspective of, again, the purpose of doing good for others. Like we just talked about, there's people out there who they don't really want to do good for others,
Right.
and they're not very nice people
We're
to
not looking to attract them.
no, no. Yeah. So, and then the last one, which has become, a huge buzzword in social media, like dopamine, right? I mean, the idea of that it's the reward drug. So, you get the game or whatever these games are on, and they're giving you money and dings and like it's or instant,
Patches, everything,
right?
just any little type of award.
Right. The same thing with the likes, the likes and the hearts and the claps and on social media. I mean, that's just all designed there to be like, oh my gosh, this feels good. People care about me. I feel special. I'm valuable because of blah blah blah. Right. So it's this, and I mean, like you're talking about the same type of chemical that's released when when unfortunately if people are partaking in drugs and alcohol or any addictive type of behaviors.
Right.
So, but again, there's from a reward standpoint, right? There's opportunities to be able, from a marketing standpoint, to have a message that attracts individuals based off of their needs and understanding of speaking to them. And how do you walk them from that journey, right? Again, going from a digital marketing perspective of being able to capture their attention, to reward them, to delight them, to entertain them, to intrigue them, to guide them to an action, right? So it's not, and oftentimes I know, and this is another thing. I mean, working for, again, in automotive and in financial, it's, oftentimes it's, hey, we're going to send out this campaign, whether it's from a corporate perspective or on behalf of an advisor. And it's like, hey, okay, they're just going to show up. No, it's all the journey, man.
Yeah.
It's all about the journey. And then how much time and energy and effort are we putting into building that journey from not knowing to becoming known?
Right.
So again, there's a whole art to that, right? Yeah.
We can pick that up on the next episode.
Oh,
I cut. And
did we go over already, man? Oh,
we've been over an hour.
I feel like we just got started.
We did. We did.
Yeah.
We have a lot more to discuss where we will touch on connectivity.
Yes.
Right. And what else? Transition.
Transformation, baby.
Transformation.
Actually making a difference. And what does that look like?
Connection. Connectivity in today's world and transforming. Being transformational.
I'm excited about that, Scott. I mean, I thought we were all going to get it done today. I'm blabbering over here, so
we got to hold back some. We can't give it all.
Well, I'm more than happy to partake in a couple more sessions or unlimited, for you. I'll do anything, Scott. So
I appreciate you coming on.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man. I'm really grateful for you.
Until next time.
All right. Peace out.